Hello and welcome to another video. It has been a while. I've just had my head down, going to work, 2 little kids keeping me busy, walking the dog. Life's good, but I figured a lot has gone on in the development world, in the software engineering world in the last couple months since I've posted. AI is definitely becoming more and more ingrained in people's workflows and companies' workflows and expectations, and at my own company and from what I see talking to other people online who are software engineers in their companies, for the most part, and companies are pushing AI a lot, and the adoption of AI and the integration of AI and LLMs into as many workflows as possible. I think some of that is driven by sort of the CEO executive level FOMO. You know, they're just like, oh my goodness, if our competitors do this and get ahead of us, we can't let that happen. Therefore, we must jump on the bandwagon and make AI absolutely everything. You know, I'm somewhere in the middle. I think it's definitely important to integrate where it makes sense, but blanket adoption and integration doesn't make sense because it isn't really useful in every single case. What it does do is it exposes bottlenecks in your existing systems as well. Code has now become something that can be written very easily. Code is cheap. Good code, on the other hand, is not necessarily cheap. You still need good people who understand fundamentals of software to craft and architect good code. But code itself is cheap. You can put up a PR very quickly now. So you expose the other bottlenecks in areas like PR reviews, product decisions, getting feedback from product, working cross teams, cross functions, cross domains, getting reviews from other teams, etc. These are now much more exposed because code is faster to develop. Myself, I use Claude CLI every day, and it's in my IDE in RubyMine. So I'm a Ruby on Rails developer. I use RubyMine, which is a JetBrains IDE built specifically for Ruby on Rails. I love it. I'm used to it. CLI integrates very nicely with it. It has an NTP, so it builds a whole lot of, it indexes all the files, and Claude has access to that. So it is pleasurable to work with, and Claude is very good at planning and executing and refactoring and spitballing with. For the most part, I don't handwrite code anymore. I just do everything through Claude, unless it's a small thing that I know I can just do quicker and it's easier to write without the prompt. I will go in and change things again if it's easier just to make the change rather than trying to instruct Claude and waiting for it to get it wrong. But for the most part, all of my code is now written by Claude, and that's fine with me because I was never the most technical person in the room. I never liked mathematics. I never liked solving problems and puzzles and things like that for the sake of doing it. I like making things happen. I like outcomes. So being able to code with Claude, it's like, it takes all of that, most of that thinking away of like, oh, how do I efficiently construct this data or write the boilerplate code for this markup, or create this hash map that does X, Y, Z and uses the correct function. Like Claude does all of that now, and it does it quite well. At least as a first pass, it does it well enough to remove a lot of the kind of initial barrier to figure out how to solve those kinds of problems. Kind of DSA, data structure and algorithm type problems. Claude is very good at that. And that was never the favorite part for me. I liked solving problems and building stuff. For sure, because you have to as a developer. But the thing I'm really driven by is kind of the value that code adds at the end of the day. So for me, I enjoy that. I don't have this existential crisis about being a software engineer, because to me it was never about having pride around solving hard problems with respect to data structures and algorithms. For me, I get more pride out of a user saying, oh, this app's really cool, it saves me time. So I think for that reason, I enjoy using it. I'm bullish on it as well. I think that there will be still the need for software engineers for the foreseeable future. I think, who can predict more than 2 years out, but I'm saying maybe the next 5 years, my guess is that software engineers are still very much going to be part of the process, but those that will perform better with LLMs and are more focused on business outcomes and driving that value, they're the ones that are going to have more job security. And that's what I'm sort of gearing myself up to be, is a very productive, value-adding engineer, rather than someone who's, to date, you've always had the perception that engineers are always kind of, nerdy problem solvers. I think that is going to disappear more in favor of people who are product and value driven. So yeah, I don't mind using Claude. What time is it? I'm going to go this way. And from the business perspective, I completely understand why they want to push people towards using it, because you can move way faster and develop even more with developers using those tools. I also think that there's going to be a shortage of competent developers in the next 5 years. And again, this is a hunch, but I get the sense that fewer people are pursuing software engineering now just because of the rise of LLMs and all of this hype and fear claiming that AI is going to replace developers, which it clearly hasn't. Those predictions have not come true, and I do not see them coming true unless we can develop something like AGI, like, an actual thinking AI. But then we're all screwed if we get that. Like, there's not going to be any jobs. So, solve for that problem if it comes. I don't think it's going to come anytime soon. So for as far as I'm concerned, we're still going to need the engineers and the people who can drive value using the tools that are at their disposal to write good code. And good code is only possible if you understand fundamentals and you understand architecture and maintainability, writing systems that are going to scale and that are going to work well with whatever plans you throw at them in the future, and are refactorable and maintainable. Anyone can put out garbage code. It's good code that matters, and good code is only going to come from the humans who can think about these things in an abstract way, because LLM just cannot handle that. And therefore, there will be a shortage of senior, competent, good, value-driving, product-minded senior developers over the next few years. And I feel like I'm very well poised to fill that gap. So I'm not too worried about job security from that perspective. If you are someone who's studying now, learning, I always maintain the best way to learn is to write the code yourself. Do not use an LLM at all. I am a firm believer that people who learned to develop and wrote production code before LLMs are going to be better software engineers than those who learned with LLMs and never had to write code themselves without that crutch. All other things equal, I think the person who's been through the trenches is going to be a better engineer at the end of the day. And I'm so thankful that I came from that cohort and was the very last of that cohort who got in before LLMs. Not to say you can't be a great engineer, but I just think the laziness that LLMs generate just mean you won't have the experience or the mental fortitude, linkages, whatever you want to call it, that you've built over time. So yeah, I think that will be a detriment. So write as much code as you can without LLMs. I know that sounds crazy and it's going to be hard to do, but if you really want to take this seriously, that's what you will do. And then look at your peers, look at the people around you, see how productive they are, look at their work styles, look at their communication styles, and just be a better team member and value driver than your peers, or at least try to be, always improving. And you should always have job security, as far as I'm concerned. That's what I always try to do anyway. I always try to just be that bit more productive, that bit more communicative, that bit more useful than average. As I aim to be as many of as high of the standard in all of those as I can be, and as long as that is above average, then I'm happy, because I think that will secure your reputation and likelihood of maintaining job should things change. Yeah, and lastly, I think right now is one of the best times to be a solopreneur in a kind of software engineering domain. If I was to lose my job tomorrow, which I certainly do not want to do, it's never been easier to develop an application, a piece of software that solves a problem that people are willing to pay money for than it has been now, especially in Ruby on Rails, given that it is already the solopreneur's tech stack of choice. And LLMs work very well with Ruby code, very efficiently with Ruby code. And with LLMs, I could produce a production-ready application that people will be willing to pay for in a few months just by myself. Problem is, I'm not an ideas guy. I'm an executioner. So as long as I have a good idea, I will execute very well. I don't know about you, if you're an ideas person, maybe we can talk, but knowing your skill sets and your gaps is definitely important too when you're considering your future and how you're going to navigate. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. That's just my ramblings. It's been a while. Are people still watching these videos? Are you still studying coding? Be curious to know what people are up to in the comments. Have a good one.